The Banishment. The gleaming spires of Nexus Prime, capital world of the Galactic Council, stretched toward an alien sky bathed in the light of 3 suns. Ambassador Elena Reyes stood before the tribunal chamber, her posture rigid despite the exhaustion of a month-long diplomatic mission. Beside her, Admiral Quan Chen's weathered face betrayed no emotion as the 7 high ministers of the council rendered their verdict. The species known as humans, intoned Silos, the mantis-like Arthean minister, has been deemed too volatile, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to join the galactic community. Elena's heart sank. 3 years of careful negotiations, technological exchanges, and cultural ambassadorship, all for nothing. Furthermore, continued Xylos, compound eyes gleaming under the chamber lights, by unanimous vote, humanity is hereby quarantined to its solar system. A Class 9 containment barrier will be erected at the Kuiper Belt perimeter within 30 standard days. Any attempt to breach this barrier will be considered an act of aggression against the Galactic Council. A murmur rippled through the alien delegates. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. With respect, ministers, you condemn us based on ancient history. Humanity has known peace for 80 years. Our unified government has existed for less than a century, interrupted Miral, the jellyfish-like Aquilon minister, her translucent body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Your species progressed from primitive flight to antimatter propulsion in under 2 centuries. Your genetic code contains aggression markers not seen in any council race. Your entertainment glorifies conflict. Admiral Chen finally spoke, his voice like steel. You fear us because we're different. We protect the galaxy because you are dangerous, corrected Draz, the silicon-based lithid minister. The Council has observed 118 developing species. None have shown your capacity for both creation and destruction. The decision is final. Xylos announced. Return to your world and prepare your people. The quarantine begins in 30 days. As they were escorted from the chamber, Elena whispered to Chen, "What now?" The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Now we show them exactly why they should have feared us. On Earth, panic gave way to determination. In Geneva, the United Earth government held emergency sessions while protests erupted in major cities worldwide. President Lakshmi Sharma addressed humanity from the Grand Assembly. Citizens of Earth, we face an unprecedented challenge. The Galactic Council has rejected our peaceful overtures and sentenced us to isolation. They believe they have contained us. They believe they have ended our cosmic journey before it truly began. Her eyes flashed with defiance. They are wrong. Project Exodus was conceived, planned, and implemented in 28 days, a feat of engineering and coordination previously unimaginable. While official channels broadcast compliance and acceptance of the Council's verdict, the largest covered operation in human history unfolded across Earth's space docks. At the lunar shipyards, Dr. Marcus Wong supervised the modification of 37 colony ships. The barrier will generate gravitational distortion fields, he explained to military officers and civilian leaders. But our analysis of Council technology suggests phase variances will occur during the barrier's initial activation. A window, confirmed Admiral Chen. Precisely, Wong nodded. A small window, perhaps only minutes wide, where properly shielded vessels might slip through. And then? Asked President Sharma. Then, said Chen, we scatter. Beyond Council space, into the uncharted regions they've never bothered to explore. The gamble succeeded, but barely. Of 37 ships that attempted the perilous journey through the forming barrier, 23 made it through. The rest were destroyed or captured. 97,000 humans escaped, carrying with them the legacy of Earth, genetic banks, cultural archives, and technological blueprints. The colony ships scattered in predetermined patterns, heading for star systems carefully selected from astronomical data gathered during humanity's brief contact with the Council. Some would journey for decades before reaching their destinations. On the colony ship Prometheus, Dr. Sophia Rice tended to her son Miguel as alarms blared through the vessel. The gravity drive had been damaged during their desperate escape through the barrier. Engineering reports critical failures in the antimatter containment system, reported First Officer Kazuo over the shipwide comms. All hands prepare for emergency landing protocols. The planet below, designated Taurus 9, hadn't been their intended destination. Initial scans showed a nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere, but higher gravity than Earth and unpredictable electromagnetic storms. "It'll have to do," Captain Okafor announced grimly as the Prometheus limped toward the alien world. 50 years passed. The scattered human colonies faced hardships beyond imagination. On some worlds, like Taurus 9, now called New Terra, humans thrived despite the challenges. On others, entire colonies perished facing alien pathogens or environmental extremes. Yet even in isolation, humans did what they had always done: adapted, innovated, and overcame. On the mineral-rich world of Vesta Prime, colonists discovered ruins of an ancient civilization. Dr. Eliza Bennett, great-granddaughter of one of the original colonists, led the excavation team that made the discovery that would change humanity's destiny. "These aren't just ruins," she told Colony Director Jackson as they stood before a massive doorway covered in spiral glyphs. "This is a technological repository. These beings, we're calling them the precursors, they were capable of manipulating fundamental forces we've only theorized about. Can we adapt their technology?" Jackson asked, running a weathered hand over the alien metal that had resisted corrosion for what carbon dating suggested was over 50,000 years. "They were physiologically different from us," Bennett admitted. "Six-limbed, with neural patterns suggesting a hive consciousness. But the principles, the physics, those are universal." Over the next decades, human colonies established tenuous communication using quantum entanglement technology, undetectable by the Council's monitoring systems. Knowledge was shared, including the precursor technologies from Vesta Prime. A new unified identity emerged, no longer Earthers, but Terrans, children of a distant homeworld they might never see again. The isolation imposed by the Council ironically accelerated human development. Free from external regulation, human scientists took bold risks that Council species, evolved over millions of years toward stability and caution, would never have attempted. On New Terra, researchers combined precursor gravitational manipulation with human theoretical physics to develop the first prototype of what would become the Singularity Drive, a propulsion system that didn't just bend space, but folded it entirely. On Hyperion, genetic engineers created adaptive biological interfaces that allowed direct neural connections to machines. On Olympus, quantum computing evolved beyond binary limitations into probability states that Council mathematicians had deemed theoretically impossible. 120 years after the Exodus, the scattered colonies formed the Terran Alliance. The first ships equipped with singularity drives began reconnecting the dispersed human worlds. Massive habitats were constructed in deep space, invisible to Council monitoring. Automated probe networks mapped regions of space the Council had dismissed as void zones. And all the while, Earth remained silent behind its barrier, apparently accepting its prison, while secretly receiving quantum communications from its far-flung children. The Terran Alliance grew, expanded, and prepared, not for revenge, though many still harbored resentment toward the Council, but for survival in a galaxy that had rejected them. They built, innovated, and waited for the day they would reveal themselves to the species that had cast them out. That day arrived sooner than expected, and from a direction no one had anticipated. The return. 200 years after the quarantine of Earth, High Minister Xylos, now ancient even by Arthean standards, received an urgent communication from the Council's Deep Space Monitoring Division. "You claim to have detected what?" Xylos asked, mandibles clicking in agitation. The young Arthean scientist's antennae quivered. "Multiple vessels, Eminence, approaching from the Perseus void. They match no known configuration in our databases. Pirates, perhaps, or nomadic traders from beyond Council space." Negative, eminence. Their energy signatures are unprecedented, and they're traveling at speeds our sensors can barely track. Xylos felt an unfamiliar sensation, something ancestral memories identify as fear. Alert the defense fleet. I will convene the council immediately. The vessels, over 200 of them, halted just beyond council space. For 3 days, they remained motionless, sending no communications, making no hostile moves. The council armada assembled at the border, weapons primed. On the 4th day, a single message was broadcast across all council frequencies. This is Admiral Miguel Reyes of the Terran Alliance vessel Ascendant. We come in peace and wish to open diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Confusion rippled through the council chambers. The humans. Impossible. Earth remained contained behind its barrier. Regular monitoring confirmed their technological level remained relatively primitive. They'd developed fusion power and limited interplanetary colonization, but nothing that could explain these vessels. When a delegation of humans finally stood before the council, they bore little resemblance to the species Hylos remembered. Admiral Reyes stood nearly 7 feet tall, a product of growing up on high-gravity Nuterra. Ambassador Cheng's eyes gleamed with subtle cybernetic enhancements. Chief Scientist Bennett's neural interface circuitry was visible as delicate silver tracery beneath her skin. You violated the quarantine, accused Minister Draz. Earth remains contained. How did you escape? Admiral Reyes smiled. We didn't escape recently, Minister. Our ancestors escaped 2 centuries ago, during the barrier's formation. While you watched a caged Earth, our people spread through the stars beyond your borders. We've established 37 colony worlds, built 17 deep space habitats, and mapped regions you've never explored. The council chambers erupted in shock and outrage. Xylos raised all 4 arms for silence. You deceived us, the ancient Arthean hissed. You rejected us, corrected Ambassador Cheng. You judged an entire species based on its past and gave us no opportunity to prove ourselves. So we proved ourselves anyway, just beyond your sight. The humans presented evidence of their civilization, star charts of their territory, images of thriving colony worlds, and technological specifications that made even the Council's most advanced scientists murmur in astonishment. We don't come seeking revenge, Rice continued. We come seeking recognition. The Terran Alliance wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council as an independent power. The negotiations lasted months. Many Council species feared the humans, and with good reason. Human technology had developed along paths the Council races had never explored. Their singularity drives outpaced the fastest Council vessels. Their neural interfaces made the Council's computer systems look primitive. Their adaptive genetics had allowed them to thrive on worlds the Council had deemed uninhabitable. They've accomplished in 2 centuries what took our species millennia, Minister Mirrell observed during a private council session. If they wanted war, they would have struck without warning, finished Tylos. The fact that they've revealed themselves peacefully suggests their intentions are genuine. A fragile accord was established. The Terran Alliance was recognized as a sovereign power. Earth's quarantine barrier was scheduled for deactivation. Cultural and technological exchanges began, cautiously at first, then with increasing openness as the Council species discovered that humans had indeed changed during their exile. The violent tendencies remained, but they had been channeled, controlled, and directed toward creation rather than destruction. Then came the Scourge. They emerged from the galactic core, a species so alien that even the diverse Council had no framework to understand them. They communicated through gravitational pulses, existed partially in dimensions beyond conventional spacetime, and considered all carbon-based life to be an infestation to be cleansed. The first attacks devastated 3 Council worlds before the threat was even understood. Conventional weapons passed harmlessly through their semi-corporeal forms. Council scientists scrambled to develop defenses while evacuation efforts struggled to save billions of lives. In an emergency session, Admiral Reyes addressed the Council. Our scientists believe we can help. The precursor technology we discovered allows for manipulating the dimensional boundaries the Scourge exploit. We can't destroy them, but we might be able to contain them. Why would you help us? Asked a Lithid delegate. After our treatment of your species, Reyes's expression was solemn. Because despite everything, we're still human. And humans protect their own, even when their own expands to include all sentient life. The war against the Scourge pushed both human and Council technology to its limits. Human vessels, with their superior speed and adaptability, formed the vanguard of the defense fleets. Council worlds opened their borders to human scientists, who worked alongside Council researchers to develop new weapons and defenses. On the front lines, Admiral Rice's flagship Ascendant led a desperate mission to deploy the dimensional anchors that would seal the Scourge away from conventional spacetime. The human vessel took devastating damage in the process, with Rice himself sustaining injuries that would later require extensive cybernetic reconstruction. But the plan worked. The Scourge were contained, pushed back into the higher dimensions from which they had emerged. The galaxy was saved, largely through human ingenuity and sacrifice. In the aftermath, standing before the Council with his new cybernetic arm gleaming under the chamber lights, Admiral Rice spoke words that would be recorded in the histories of 100 species. 2 centuries ago, you judged humanity too dangerous to join your community. You weren't entirely wrong. We are dangerous, when threatened, when challenged, when pushed to our limits. But that same capacity that makes us dangerous also makes us the shields against the darkness. He gestured to the representatives of dozens of worlds that would have been lost without human intervention. You feared our potential for destruction. Now you've witnessed our capacity for salvation. Humanity doesn't ask for your gratitude or even your approval. We ask only for your partnership as we face whatever comes next, together. A new era began. The quarantine of Earth was lifted entirely, reuniting the homeworld with its far-flung children. The Terran Alliance took its place as a major power within a transformed Galactic Council, now reformed as the Galactic Confederation, with principles of mutual defense and technological cooperation at its core. Human adaptability and innovation cross-pollinated with the stability and wisdom of the elder races. Council species began cautiously adopting human neural interfaces and genetic adaptations. Humans learned patience and long-term thinking from species that measured their histories in millions of years. The ancient prediction had proven both right and wrong. Humanity had indeed been dangerous, but that danger had saved civilization itself. The species that had been banished returned not as conquerors but as saviors, transforming a galaxy that had once rejected them. On New Terra, in the Hall of Ancestors, a simple plaque commemorated those who had made the original journey through the barrier 2 centuries earlier. Beneath the names was inscribed a phrase that had become the unofficial motto of the Terran Alliance. They meant it as a cage. We made it our beginning.